Ba bum ba bum 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 bum. Da-da-da! I'm sorry. I'm not sure why I wanted to do that, but I just did. Welcome, all my lovely goblins and ghouls of the internet. I am Anyo, your demonic cinephile. So, the end of 2024 has come. So, let's take a look back, and I want to rank all the films I saw this year. Or less. Quick note though, not every film will be here. Much as I would love to be a true cinephile and watch every single film that comes out of the year, I can't. I finally got a chance to record, and it's happening after I'm getting better from a cold that kind of destroyed my throat. You probably could hear a little bit. Still kind of hurts to talk, but I'm powering through it. All right, so before we get to my worst horror movies of the year, I do want to do a quick little honorable mention section. So these are films that I wasn't really sure how I felt about them at the end of the day. They were more of a mixed bag than they're going to be in the top 10s, top worst. Starting off the list is Cocaine Bear. Now, I really love Cocaine Bear when I saw it. Very funny. I love the action sequences with the very, very CGI bear. All the characters are more or less hilarious. Some are a little too annoying. That's here and there. Only bad parts about it I didn't fully like and what kind of landed on this list is some of the jokes say they're welcome. The bear was very, very obvious cartoon at some points of the film, which isn't always bad, but it did take me out like one or two scenes. Also, the film was much, much more comedy than horror. Like it wasn't a full like. I didn't feel like it had a good balance of comedy and horror. Not horror. The comedy seemed to take over a lot of parts in the film. Second honorable mentions is Cobwebs. Now, I didn't know anything about Cobwebs. I didn't get to see in theaters. I saw it when it came to VOD, and it was very interesting. Um, I like this premise of the story. I like it, how we follow this kid who has to live with these very god awful parents. And it does feel like a fairy tale. It has like Cinderella or Rapunzel version to this, except it's our little boy who's being captured and not a prince, not a princess. I love a lot of the imagery in the film. I love how dark and moody the house is and how it contrasts with the outside world and school. I love how deliciously evil the parents could be, how weird and vicious. And the twist, though, the twist is cool. It's also very, I don't know. I think we need a little bit more hints to build up that his goblin spider sister Rapunzel, wherever the hell she's supposed to be. We need a little bit more build up that she could be possibly evil, I think. Also, I just kind of wanted a little bit more about the sister because she's just this minor voice in the wall. Then when you see her, she's this weird CGI goblin creature, this weird dark Rapunzel. I just want a small explanation to why and how. Is it just? I think just the movie is just bad genes. I don't know. I'm a sucker for lore and world building. I don't need a full breakdown like how she became this or why she was born this. Just a small little I think it's because of this. I feel like we need a little bit more because when the ending happens, it kind of just abrupt and it left me feeling like, wait, there has to be more. The story doesn't feel over by any means. Coming out, our third honorable mention, we have Renfield. Now, I was very excited for Renfield when I first heard it coming out. A movie centered all about our titular character, Renfield. The character of Renfield is very fun, but also kind of tragic because he's this poor mentally ill man who Dracula's taking advantage of. But then again, he's also has all the loud and dramatic scenes in the book, and the the various adaptations. It's actually a very fun book. I'll try to put it up on the screen if I can find it. That is Dracula, but by Renfield's point of view. It's a very fun book. Check it out if you can find it. But no, when this was announced, I was so excited, especially when they said Dracula being played by Nicolas Cage. Like, what the heck? And I saw the trailer, and besides the points with Cage in it, the trailer didn't really left much to be desired, I guess you could say. Like how the story they're building up about a toxic relationship, how Dracula is the ultimate evil boss. He would probably fit in with Evil Boss's movie. I like that spin on it. I like it's very fun. I like how it's played for a comedic way. You can see how manipulative and controlling Dracula is to Renfield, how abusive he is. Love all that. I even love how they did Renfield in here. I liked his, he's kind of weak demeanor, but it's all because of Dracula keeps putting him down. And you get to see the part where he pushes Dracula to the side and starts to live his own life. I liked it. I found it was cool. Okay, the bad parts of the film, though, is, one, Awkwafina. Now, I don't hate Awkwafina. I hear that she's a good person in real life. I don't even think she's that bad of an actress. I think the directors and people she's working with, they let her go too much. They let her to be too loud. I don't know. I think she works a little bit better. She was more subdued. I'm not sure, because I know some people really love her, some people really hate her. But her whole side quest with, the cops of New Orleans, I think this takes place in New Orleans. That part had to be reworked or cut out because it's just a nothing. You know what I mean? Awkwafina her character is okay, but we were sold on Renfield and Dracula, and it doesn't have a lot of scenes in the movie. Dracula. This film needed more of Dracula, because when he's on screen, when Nick Cage is being this overly weird, silly, but also terrifying and toxic version of Dracula, I love it. Every time he's on the screen, I felt like my ears and eyes perked up, like, oh god, movie's getting good again. It's getting good again. Also, the scene where he shows his powers, like, the special effects here were also pretty good. Not, special. But, they served the film. They weren't too weird or too distracting. I like the I like the many different powers Dracula has and how he uses them in the film. What I don't like is just how the characters just get all stupid for some reason. Not that the film needs to go over explaining things, but you're like, why does Dracula why does he need Renfield? Why does this work like this? Is he going out and killing people himself? He seems pretty capable of in about halfway through the film. And he doesn't look as weak as they're trying to proclaim him to be. So how does Renfield's powers work? I mean, I eat a bug, and I get super strength. I can do all these cool things. But in later movie, when Dracula does this all to a bunch of people, why doesn't he just make more vampires? And that'd be more simple. The film needed more Cage, it needed more Dracula, maybe a little bit more serious. It was mostly a comedy. Same thing with Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear and this are very similar, that the comedy and the romance parts kind of take over, and I feel like we needed a little bit horror into it. Make it a little bit more creepy. That's just for me. Also, I love the recreation of the Dracula scene from 1931 with the modern actors. It looked amazing. Alright, our next honorable mention is actually very common with the last one, because it's another vampire movie, Subspecies, Blood Rise. If some of you do not know what this movie is, I do not blame you. It is a independent film that came out from Full Moon Studios. It is the sixth film in the Subspecies franchise. It is a vampire franchise by Full Moon, the same people who did Puppet Master and Demonic Toys. And this whole film is a prequel to the franchise where we follow the villainous Radu Vadislas, the weirdest and most unappreciated vampire in film. I love this character. He's such a blast. And we get to see how he rises from his Birth. It's a very ambitious film. We still have Andre Hooves. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who's coming back to play Radu. He played Radu in the earlier films back in the 90s. And, he's obviously older because we get to see him as a human for a good half of the film. When he actually is in the vampire makeup and even out of it, he just goes back into the role of Radu and is so amazing. I grew up watching the old Subspecies films and I love them so much. So this was a very special film for me. I almost wanted to put this in the main list. I almost wanted to put this as probably number, I guess, like 6 or 7. Why I stopped this from going that far is because the film does break continuity a lot to the movie. It breaks continuity like we see in this version of the film that one character who we were told it was good and always was good is evil. We are told that this character has this powers in this film, while they did not have this powers in that. In the old movies, we were just told they were vampires. Here, Radu exclaims himself as a demon and a demigod and something else. It was very weird, almost like they wanted to reboot the franchise. But we know that's not the film, that's not what that film was advertised as, and whatnot. Also, why I say it's ambitious, the film is very interview with the vampire like. The whole film is narrated by Radu. I'm guessing sometime before the original movies. And we see his human life to him becoming a vampire and how he meets and destroys his maker. Basically, the film is split up into 3 sections. And it feels like each of those sections should have been their whole movie, almost. The whole thing with Radu being human and being part of the Crusades, that should have been his own film. Then the rest of the film where he's teaching his fledglings, he reunites with this character, that should have been his own film. The director of the film, I forgot, because he did the entire franchise, I want to say. Ted Nicolai. It seems like was very ambitious, like he wanted to do probably multiple films. Maybe that's what it feels like, that's what the script feels like. But they told him at the last minute, no, because Full Moon is not the same Full Moon as it was back in the 90s. Most of the films are very, very low budget. And not even feature length anymore. I think the movie, I love this movie personally, because I'm a big fan of the old films. It's so amazing seeing Andre being Radu again. It's so awesome seeing this character again. It really needed to be at least 2 more films. The movie feels very, very rushed in many parts. And it sucks, but I still love it. Alright, our 5th and final honorable mention goes to Skinamarink. Alright, so let's get all out here. Skinamarink is a very tough film to watch, I guess you could say. Like, I heard all the jokes and the complaints before actually sitting down and watching it for myself. Alright, I had to watch this film in 2 settings. The first time I tried to watch it, I watched it with all the lights on and trying to do some other things on the computer. Basically, I wasn't fully to give the film my full attention. When I kept looking back at the screen, it got pretty loud. I was listening. I wasn't really getting anything. Like, the film was very, I don't know how you can explain it. Like, but everyone's explaining it. The camera is pointing to this corner of the room. There's some ambient noise. The picture's all flickery. You might hear a child speak right here. Then the cartoon noises here. Then TV. And then maybe we see somebody. But no, when I went to finish watching the film the next day, it was late at night. I properly turned all the lights off. I put the headphones into the remote so I can hear all the audio, and it was much more effective. Yeah, this film is a very unique film, very experimental, and I understand this was a passion project for the director. Like, he put basically everything he had trying to make this, and he used to make shorts on YouTube too. So no slight against him. Um, I praise him. Praise him for actually making his movie, getting his movie out there. It was, it was a mixed bag, but it was a success. So hopefully he gets to make more. If this movie was kind of like a proof of concept or something he's been trying to do, maybe he can explore it more or tweak the craft a little bit. I just want to say out here, I have very love and respect for this man who got this out. But the overall end result is a very dragging movie. The movie drags very, very much, and I like long movies. But the movie isn't that long. It's only an hour and 40. But it feels like I'm trying to watch Oppenheimer because not a lot is happening, and that's the benefit to some scenes. But it's also very negative throughout the whole film because with so little happening, it's very easy to check out of the movie. Yes, when you're in a theater, you may just doze off a little, But when you're at home watching it, then you're not just getting drowsy and falling asleep, I'm sorry to say I did this, but you start to reaching for your phone. And I put my phone to the side, like, nope, not gonna touch you, we're gonna watch the movie. But when the camera is just sitting on the TV, it feels like almost several minutes. It's like, maybe you can just check this thing real quick. And you start, loses you. And that's what the thing about this film is. It should have been a lot shorter. It should have been at least 40 minutes. I think 40 minutes would be great. It's long enough to tell the story you want to tell. Cut out all those other little parts. Make the story a little bit more tighter. So you can get to focus on the kids, focus on this, focus on that, focus on the most important details. I think the hour and 40 really did hurt the movie. Cut out that whole hour, and the film would be much stronger, in my opinion. But for the scenes that do it work, the jump scares, like those eyes in the darkness, were very effective. I love it. That part where the kid maybe cuts himself, I'm not exactly sure. That part was very disturbing. That got my heart shaking, got me very weird and uncomfortable. I love that. And that's what I want for the horror movie, especially with a weird title called Skinamarink. That one scene in the bedroom, you probably know what I'm talking about. And that was really good. I really liked it. That's really effective. I like that I started putting clues together what the film could mean. Like for me, like I think I have a meaning what the film is about, but it's up to interpretation. So you can say like, oh, this is actual meaning of the film, this is the actual meaning of the film. Once again, I think it would have been a lot more stronger if it was just the 40 minutes. The whole interesting aspect of how a kid would see it. I don't know if anyone has said this before. I love the grainy effects on the overall visuals. Okay, it looks like just grainy camera effects. But no, but the times where I really got in the mood of the film, and plus with all the lights off, my eyes started playing tricks on me. Like I could see shapes dancing in the static, and it was really freaking me out. I really like that. I don't know if it was just static and they actually did something. They actually put shapes in the static, but my eyes were creating these very weird images. It was making the film so much more fun, but also frightening at times. I don't know. I like that. It's a very weird film. I understand why a lot of people like it, but I can also understand why a lot of people hate it. I'm in the middle. I think just cut out the extra hour, it would have been perfect. Alright, so I think we're gonna start with my worst horror movies of the year. Alright, so how this is gonna work is the first 10, like the first 5, so 10 through 5, they weren't films that I hate, but I found disappointing. They could have been a little bit better. And then we get to 4 through 1 are the films I really, really hated. And you'll hear why. So, starting off at number 10 is The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Now, I actually covered this movie on the channel, and I really did praise it. I really love this movie. It just, when I started thinking more about it, like, you know, they could have done this, they could have done that. Like, no movie is based off this very small part of one chapter in Dracula. And I thought we were going to get something good and faithful to the book, but they do their own thing, which is fine. You can do your own thing when making your version of Dracula. But since this was called The Last Voyage of the Demeter, I thought we were going to be more faithful to the book. We get this very awesome version of Dracula, but he's also very dumb. Because we get this, Dracula kills all the animals, but starts hunting the humans down in increments? Why? Was the one girl supposed to keep him fed throughout the whole journey? I don't know. Some points Dracula acts like a violent animal, then sometimes he acts like a full educated man. We get these hints that he is a monster that wears a human disguise, but we never see a human shape. Even at the end of the film where he's wearing clothing, it's implied that he always looks like the Batman. Which is a fun nod to Nosferatu, but this is a Dracula that's kind of hard to mingle in with European society if he's looking like the Batman. And also just weird, dumb things like, by the end of the movie, they find the crate that Dracula's been using as his coffin, his hideaway from the sun, but they don't do anything with it. They don't think, alright, let's throw it overboard. Even if he's not in it right now, he's gonna have to return to it eventually, but they don't do that. They don't huddle up and stay close together. They always separate for dumb reasons, even though they know that something's on the ship killing them. It's just like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it just became much more frustrating with the characters as the film went on. Coming out at number 5 is Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, I tried to play the first Freddy game to get in, to kind of get involved, the fan base, to learn what's the story about. I like the use of the animatronics. I liked how they were actually animatronics on set. They weren't all CGI. The film has this good funny moments. I like the little map hat scene. I like the whole dynamic with the main character learning how to be a good guardian to his little sister. I like his main journey throughout the film, trying to find and figure out what he could have done better to stop that tragedy from happening in his past. What I don't like is, one, the movie is basically bloodless, which you don't really need to have blood and splattering all about for the movie to be good, but you need to see the gore, you need to see some of the violence, and almost all the kills, if I remember right, are cutaways. I mean, yeah, that kind of happens in the game, but games are in first person. You could have done so much with blood and gore and all these crazy things with what the animatronics could do, and you don't. Also, we have these scenes where the spirits are having the animatronics are talking to him in his dreams, and while that's kind of interesting, it takes up all the nights at Freddy's, and the game, the movie never emulates the game. It never feels like that weird claustrophobic, like, gotta check the camera, gotta check this camera, gotta check this camera, gotta check that camera. Where the frig is Foxy? Foxy's still there. The Tweety Bird had better say in the goddamn hallway. Freddy, please don't come over here. The bunny boy, stop looking at me. Like, you could have, and it didn't have to be the whole film, but it should have been at least one scene. One of the night sequences should have been just like the game. I don't know, a lot of the fans seem to love it. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan. I didn't even finish the first game. So, but a lot of the fans seem to love it. So, happy for them. But as mostly just coming in here as a horror fan, it need to be a little more violent, need more blood. And from what little of the games I have played, it need to feel like the game. It didn't really feel like you were playing Five Nights at Freddy's. Coming out at number 8, we have The Boogeyman. Now, The Boogeyman is based off a short story by Stephen King. The trailers look really good. Got a chance to see it when it came to VOD. I like the main story. I like the story about the girls and their dad trying to get over the loss of their mom, them trying to come to copes with it. I like the one creepy scene where the disturbed man is talking to their dad, who's a psychiatrist. Very love that. Love the acting in that scene. A lot of imagery in the film is really, really good. I love the use of shadows. Love the use of the darkness. I like how when the boogeyman starts to take over the house, it kind of grows shadow vines, which is kind of neat. I like the final fight of the film. I think most of the characters are really good, except for the dumb random bullies, because it's a Stephen King film. So you had to have asshole bullies. Now where the film is bad, well, one, it's the monster. The boogeyman is not really a character in the film. He's a generic monster. He's like dumb analogy, but it's the only thing my brain's coming up at this time. He's like the shark from Jaws, but instead of the ocean, he lives in the closet. He lives in the shadows. I don't know, you take a character called the boogeyman, and you give him no personality. I feel like that's kind of a shame. Maybe he's not the real boogeyman, that's just what the characters call him. But, I don't know. You call the movie Boogeyman, you call the monster Boogeyman, I'm expecting something very ooga boogie. Or like Freddy Krueger. Not this weird shadow monster. And also, he is a shadow monster. He is weakened by light. He doesn't like light. He can only survive in the night. So why are all the characters sitting in the dark? I mean, I like the dark. I love the dark. But if I knew there was a monster sitting in my shadow, just waiting for just enough darkness to spread so it can snap my spine or whatever, I would keep all the lights on. Even when the characters are for certain that this thing is real, they still sit in the dark. I don't know why. I mean, there's a scene where the little sister is playing PlayStation in the living room, but she has just the only thing light she has on is from the TV, and she knows this thing is real. She knows this thing's been trying to kill her or whatever for several weeks now. So why does she just have? Why does she have her phone light on? Why does she have the light above her on? I mean, this stupid kid's basically asking for it at this point. I'm sorry, but she kind of is. Even when they try to make a plan to kill it, they still keep the house in the dark. Why? Ooh, and they get this kind of like a stripe, like big lighting to hurt it. But it's like it's only like one or two things. Like, why not? Here's the thing: they tie like a bunch of Christmas lights on and trap it in the room and use that to kill it. That's smart. That's smart to solve all your problems. Solves all your problems. It's just infuriating that the monster was a disappointment, and the characters, who I mostly liked, were being such idiots and trying to deal with it. The little girl has an excuse. Everyone else, no, they don't. So number 7 is VHS 85. Quick explanation: I love the VHS films. 1 and 2 are great. Viral was 99, 94. I think were awesome. I didn't really like 94 that much, but the one before that was great. I realized that this probably is the worst one next to Viral. All the segments in it weren't really scary. They weren't really interesting, and there was no real wraparound, kind of like the last movie. I mean, there is a wraparound, but how it connects to the whole other film was just non-existent. At least I didn't get it. There are 2 segments that I really, really like. The opening segment where these kids are going out on a lake, they die, and they find out they're kind of like undead. And this wedding segment near the end, those were really awesome. Everything else, though, it's just, it was bland. Which is bad, because even the bad movies like Viral, I would never call those segments bland, but this one was just bland. There was nothing for me to really attach and connect to. No interesting ideas that haven't been done before. No really, really good gore. No nothing. Which is sad, because I love the VHS. I love all the different craters and what they put together. But this one, I don't know. Alright, so coming at number 6, we have Haunted Mansion. Now, the new Haunted Mansion was an okay film. It was a fun ensemble. The comedy was mostly pretty good. Like some dumb, cringy moments that made me like, why you gotta do this? But most of the comedy, I would say, was actually pretty fun and effective. Like Keith, I always forget his last name, so I'm so sorry. But I like him, really liked him in this movie. And I don't really check out all of his work, mostly because whenever I see him, I get flashbacks to the Death Note movie. But I really liked him in this. I thought he worked very well with what's his name? Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson. I think they all really worked well together. I really like the horror aspect, but that's where it kind of gets bad because the film doesn't really know what it really wants to be. It wants to be a fun comedy. It wants to be a spooky film for the whole family. There got times where it tries to be a really, really good horror film. Like it's trying, like it's really trying with the horror, and sometimes they don't bleed well enough together. I think why I kind of put in this list because the film is kind of forgettable. Like it's not a bad film. Probably say it's actually, now that I'm really thinking about it, it's probably better made than the films below it on this list. But where it comes negative is kind of like with VHS and the Boogeyman, it's kind of just forgetful. I mean, when the film was over 20 minutes afterwards, I kind of started forgetting it. I mean, Jared Leto as the villain is kind of cool. He has a cool design, but he's barely there. Like he doesn't really have that big of a presence. Like I said, these songs most cool, but sometimes they don't really blend and work well together. House is kind of cool. The CGI is a big hit and miss in some scenes. Some scenes is really good. Some scenes is, well, I wouldn't say where it's bad, but it's very kind of distracting, I guess you could say. We have all these different ghosts, but they don't really use them. Go back to the what was it, 2003 movie? The 2003 one with Eddie Murphy. At least the ghosts in that movies were characters. They weren't really characters in this film. The ghosts are just random monsters for the main villain to control. But then again, he doesn't have that big screen presence until like the very final moments. I don't know. I still say it's a good movie. I think it is a fun movie for the whole family, especially if you want to try to get your kids into horror. I think this is a good movie for that. It just, you're not gonna remember it like half an hour later. All right, so this is where we're gonna get the stinkers. Starting at sorry, my throat still hurts. Starting at number 5, we have The Nun 2. Now, I have seen all of the Conjuring movies. Oh, Conjuring 1, 2, 3, Annabelle, her various sequels. The only one I have not seen is La Llorona. The first Nun, had some good creepy images. It was just a very, from my memory of it, because I only saw it the one time in theaters. From my memory of it, it was very dull. It was very bland. The story was predictable. The main priest was, I remember even liking him. The only one I liked was the Firminus. Yeah, the nun, the good nun, Vera Farmiga. I am sorry, I'm not sure why I can't pronounce this woman's name. Well, it's not coming out to me, but her sister, Taisia. Okay, now I know I'm butchering that. She played the psychic nun, which I'm not sure why they're not actually supposed to be sisters or some kind of relative in the film universe, because they look so alike. I remember when watching the first movie, I kept thinking that was supposed to be Lorraine from the first movies. But the first Nun, which is, it has moments, but it was just bland, forgettable, demonic movie that we've seen time and time again, just with a bigger budget. Valak, or the Nun, was nearly as creepy as it was in The Conjuring 2, but for Nun 2, it's mostly the same movie. It had some very cool shots when it didn't rely on CGI. I think there was at least 1 or 2 practical parts of the film when they're more focused on building atmosphere and using imagery instead of just jump scares. I thought the film kind of worked. But besides a good couple place moments, it's just the first movie all over again. The characters all suck. Farmiga's character, that nun, She's so cool. She's not cool. No, the character is awful, but she's played well by the actress. And this is the same thing. All the actors do a pretty decent job. It's just the roles suck. I just didn't get into it. Like, the best way to say. I mean, the part where the kid has to go through the burned down part of the school, and you can't see parts of the nun embedded in the walls. That's kind of cool. We have this part where, which I'm guessing is setting up for a sequel, where when the little girls opens the door, you see the same shot from The Conjuring Part 2, which is even probably implying the nuns planning all this all along. Or there's some time manipulation, which oh god. I mean, that can be a cool plot where the demons are so above time, they are constantly interacting with themselves in different points of time, that all these stories are happening at the same time, but from a higher plane of existence. That is just some really cool stuff that I will love to see. I don't see these writers sorry, we want to slip. I don't see these writers being able to pull that off, though. It's just more big evil monster, just blah, and da, and then splash some holy water, say the good words, and it's gone. Same movie from the last one, same how to deviate from this one. So please don't do Nun 3. Don't do A Conjuring without James Wan. Then number 4, we have Children of the Corn. Now, it's kind of funny, before the movie came out, I forgot. I didn't know it was actually happening. I actually made this post on Reddit saying, like, I think this series could come back really cool. Did it play up like the psychological route? Like, you didn't know if He Who Walks Behind the Rose really existed. But there's this cool moment in part 2 where they actually hint that maybe it's the fungus on the corn just making the kids go crazy and violent. That was actually kind of a cool plot point that I wish they followed up on. Which ironically actually mentions the same thing about dangerous fungus that makes people go crazy and violent. Film never uses it. And while this is one of the worst movies of the year, it is by far no means the worst Children of the Corn film. I mean, my god, this film series has so many stinkers, it's worse than Hellraiser. I'm just gonna say, if you are tempted to do a watch along or watch parties of all these movies, stop after the third one. Part 1 is, awesome classic. 2 has its moments, but it's not as good, but I like it. Part 3 is fucking crazy, and I love it. It's probably my favorite of the movies, to be honest. Then you got part 1 from 2009, which is a little bit more faithful to the actual short story, which is not a good movie, but it's nice if you don't want to read the short story. Everything that's between part 3 and 2009, and the few films that came after 2009, don't watch those. They are god awful. It is a waste of your time. I don't know. You shouldn't do it. Just please don't do it unless you want to test your sanity. So this movie is actually one of the better Children of the Corn movies. Same thing with all these movies on this list that I don't really want to call outright bad, except for The Nun. They're just very disappointing. This movie was just disappointing because it had some good shots with corn. I really want to give the saving grace to this film to Kate Moyer. She is the little girl who plays, I guess you could say, our Isaac of the film. She's actually pretty good. She makes this film watchable. I mean, she's not the best child actor, but she has out everyone in the cast, even the adults. She was actually trying. She was giving it her all. The other main girl, she's so freaking annoying. With, we need to save the village, but I'm leaving the village. Her brother, like, you don't care about me. You just want to go off to college and leave me alone with adults. And all the adults are shitty. Like, at least in here, do you see how shitty the adults are? Like, I don't blame the kids for revolting. It's just ill-fitting. Especially when it's hard to believe that the kids can do all this to the adults. The plot is mostly non-existent. I mean, there is a plot, but you don't really feel it. It's not like there's not like a huge build-up to the kids going crazy. It's already kind of happening, especially with this weird opening, which I'm still not exactly sure happened. And then we get to He Who Walks Behind the Rose, which instead of being this weird After Effects monster like it was in the first movies, or the weird root monster in part 3, like I said, part 3 is amazing. It has a weird root monster. Go look it up. And this one is just badly CGI imitation of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just so weird and bad. Like, I thought they were gonna do something cool, like, oh, we only get to see little shots of it. Well, not we only get to see the full entity, but we kind of see it there. The little parts to build up the mystery. And we're not going to show you the whole thing, but they show us the whole thing, and it's god awful. Especially when you got to realize that why are the kids worshiping this thing? I mean, it's not like a full-on religious cult like it is in most other interpretations of the story, but it's like this thing is supposed to be like a god, right? At least, maybe not capital G-O-D, but like a little G-O-D. But so why is it so weak? Why is this annoying character just stabbing it like in this wilting way, like no. Like it was so stupid, so bad. I mean, I'd say it's enjoyable bad. It's not so bad as good. Maybe a smidge. It has so much potential with this story, but they keep messing it up. Number 3 might shock some of you. That is not higher on this list. That's not the worst movie of the year. But these last 3 films I'm counting as worst, as in not just poorly made, but what I found really bad to me, like very disappointing. Like a film that not just missed the shot, but just like went right over the field and landed in some toxic waste pond, if that sounds appropriate to you. This film technically should be number 1, but right now I'm playing number 3 because I knew exactly what I was walking into. So my number 3 is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So when this was announced, like last year, most people were in one of a few groups. Ones were really hating it, or thought it was going to be shit. People who thought it was going to be good. People who knew it were going to be shit, but thought it was going to be fun shit. I was in the latter group. I knew this film was probably going to suck, but I was just so happy at the premise that I had to give it a shot. This film is so confusing because it's taking a classic children's property and making it a horror film, but you don't really do anything fun with it. I mean, we had that opening animation sequence, which I actually kind of like. I like how it's all scribble scrabble. Like, I wouldn't mind the whole film, which is like a kind of like that to an extent. But after that, it's just Pooh and Piglet, big monsters in the woods. We kill slashy. I mean, Piglet has no personality. Pooh is Michael, Jason, and just slasher. I mean, he doesn't have one kind of moment where Pooh flashbacks to all the time. He had fun with Christopher Robin, and it makes some kind of remorse, and he starts messing up his little shed. I don't know, for that moment, I kind of thought, maybe the seriousness of the film could work. I'm not sure why. I thought that. But after that scene, it's just taking itself way too seriously than it needed to. If the film was more silly and weird, maybe it could have been better. I don't know. You didn't pick at the absurdity of this. And then you get to the whole thing with Christopher Robin being a sideline character, which is, granted, the actor playing Christopher Robin leaves a lot to be desired, but the whole premise was there. It just, okay, so what happens in the film is Christopher Robin and his fiance go there for the opening. The fiance gets killed by a piglet. Christopher Robin is tortured throughout the whole movie till the end. And then, for the majority of the film, we follow these 5 random girls who are there for a retreat because one of them was stalked and harassed by this one guy. One is this social media influencer. One of the other girls is just random there. And the other 2 are a lesbian couple who, you cannot convince me these 2 are a couple, even if there is no freaking chemistry between these 2 women. There's no chemistry between any of the actors. Maybe the girl who played the fiance in the beginning, but besides that, no, everyone doesn't even feel like they know each other. Like, all the characters feel like they met last week. How it feels like. I don't know, I think there was one fun makeup effect that I kind of liked, like near the end, where Pooh is breaking the car part or something. I can't remember. It should have been something more fun and silly, kind of like Evil Dead 2. Poking fun at the hilarity of, oh, we have Winnie the Pooh as our killer. It should have been something like that. The film was only shot in 10 days, so I kind of give him that. I give him a little bit of leeway for able to achieve this in 10 days. But then again, I'm pretty sure other directors had 10 days or less to shoot a film, and they did even better than this. Also, I probably would have shifted this to number 1 on the count of the director supposedly being a little bitch and complaining that people didn't like his movie, which is the thing I cannot stand when directors and any creator gets all emotional and bitchy when people criticize their work. I mean, I know it must suck. You made a film, you put a lot of hard work into the film, and it sucks that people don't like it. But you aren't owed people's money. You're not owed people's good opinions of your work. You got to earn it. And knowing that the director is like that, I don't know, it spoils the movie even more for me. It's not even a good movie for it to spoil. I just happen to like a few shots and some of the kills. Everything else is just, I don't know, forgettable, I guess you could say. Which is basically how I feel about most of the movies on this list. They either personally insult me or just forgettable. And speaking of insulting me, that's why these two films are stand at number 1 and 2. Number 2 on this list is Insidious: The Red Door. Now, to be fair, on a technical wise, Insidious: The Red Door is probably one of the better movies on this list, technically speaking. This was Patrick Wilson's first time in the director's chair, and I like what I saw. I think he has good talent if he really wants to start directing more films and acting in them. I think he gets a lot of good performances out of his characters, or actors. A lot of the imagery is really fun, very, insidious from the other movies. What I really don't like about this film, though, is the story. So the film takes place about 10 years or so after Insidious Part 2. We catch up with all the Lambert family. And it's not what I, as a fan, was expecting, I guess you could say. Because I love the Insidious franchise. The first one, I saw that at least, I want to say twice in theaters. I loved it. It was so freaking scary the first time watching. Not as scary as now. It's kind of lost some of its edge as its age, or as I've aged, I'm not sure. But I love the first film. Part 2, I never say Part 2 is a bad film, but it's always feel like it's missing something. Like it doesn't feel like it needs to be there, or that it's missing an element to make it more impactful. Part 3 is amazing. Part 4, while not awful, it lacks, I don't know, it lacks something from Part 2 and 1. Part 5, though, The Red Door, what I don't like about the movie is all centered about reconnecting with the Lambert family, and we focus on Josh and Dalton and their strained relationship because they're amnesia, and they have to follow them as they solve this mystery of what they lost from their memories. But the thing is that we, the audience, know what they have lost. We know what's causing all of the trauma between the family. We all know all that, and it's, I don't know, when you know a mystery to the mystery, the answer to the mystery, it takes away a lot of the edge. They didn't construct the story and the scares around the film, around the mystery, for us who already know the answers to be intrigued. And also, while the film is mostly centered around the family of, it's not even the whole family, it's just Josh and Dalton. Renee, the other boy, their daughter, they get sidelined. And I thought we were going to reconnect with the whole Lambert family, only to find out that Josh and Renee are divorced. Insidious Part 1 and Part 2 really sold me on is the strong relationship between this couple. That you can sense how good the relationship was. While rocky at times, they truly loved each other and had each other's back. But when you start off with this movie, they're already divorced. We didn't get to see that breakup. And I don't know, someone who has a very strong connection to the first movie, it kind of hurt me as a fan. I'm gonna be honest, it's just a fanboy bitching. The lipstick face demon, it has as much as character development in this movie as it has in the first movie. This creature who is made to be the threat of the film, basically the threat of the whole franchise in a way, is nothing but this mindless creature. We don't get to hear it talk. We don't get to hear it. You don't get to see it making plans. You don't see it setting up this events of the story or anything. It's just like, it's waiting right here. I'm waiting. I'm waiting till Dalton can astral project again. I'm waiting to take his body. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, he's astral projecting again? Yay! I get to be Flesh for a couple minutes. I thought when the whole Red Door is coming back, that the lipstick face demon is coming back, we're gonna get to learn more about them, more about it. But no, it's just there, is here, and then it's gone. And the reason why this is number 2, it's just disappointing. Disappointing as a fan that thought we were gonna get a new chapter in the story, but it's something, I don't know, it's the lipstick face demon wasn't interesting. The mystery wasn't interesting. We get this new ghost story about Josh and his father. I don't know. It has a very cool scene, a very cool fright. I really do love it. After that, it's there. Like, here we go. Here's this little side chapter. The seed plot of the film. I don't know. I think this could have been really well constructed as a new trilogy. Like, I don't know. I think the first movie as following not Josh or... I always forget the name. I said it a couple times already. It doesn't really follow the other members of the family. Let's follow the little girl, Catley. Let's follow her as she gets her astral projection powers or whatever psychic abilities that will attract a ghost to her. And let's kind of focus the film on her. Keep the other family members in the dark. Make it like a dark fantasy, good dark fairy tale story. You get a little build up to the divorce between Josh and Renee. You know, like character development in the background. As the films prolong, we get more of the mystery being revealed to Josh and Dalton, remember the name. And then we also get to see the lipstick demon coming back in little ways, planning. I don't know, doesn't need to be a trilogy, like I said, but I don't know, there's a little more ways that it's been a little bit more unique. Have the demon actually be a threat, have the mystery be intriguing to the audience, and just having all the family members play a big part instead of just the dad and the son. And number 1 on my list. Now, a lot of people don't like this film. It's been in most people's worst horror films list of the year. I put it here because how heartless this movie was, how disappointing it was, how soulless it was. And that is The Exorcist Believer. Before watching this film, I rechecked out the original Exorcist. It's the 3rd time I watched the movie. I forgot a lot about it, but what I was surprised about was how emotional the film was, how sincere it was, how we actually spend so much time with all the characters and get to know them. It doesn't start scary right out the jump. I mean, the opening has little chills moments in there, but everything else with them is just sweet. All the characters feel real and relatable. We get a good, almost like, I'm probably exaggerating because I can't remember our exact time, but like 20 minutes of just Reagan and Chris just being, mother and child. And it's sweet. It's satisfying. You get to know them before the demon takes over, before all this horror and hell descends upon them. And that is what I don't like about this movie. A lot of people say it's soulless. When the movie starts, we get this cool opening, but a moment that happens, we get jumped almost right into the story. The photographer and his daughter, he drops her off at school, and then we meet the white girl, and they do a little ritual, then boom, the big spoiler from the trailer, they've been gone for 3 days. And that's how it happens. You don't get time to spend with nearly any of the characters, which this is The Exorcist. I mean, a lot of people on airs about how scary The Exorcist was, and it is indeed a very terrifying film. But to me, it's terrifying because of how much you love and connect with the characters. The Exorcist wouldn't be as frightening if you didn't care about Chris, or little Reagan, or Karen, or even her little German servant, or German butler, or the nanny. You wouldn't care about the movie. Would be scary if you didn't care. And this film doesn't care. It doesn't care enough to show you how the girls are with each other, how they're best friends. we're just told they're best friends. The white girl, Heather, whatever the heck her name is, I don't care to look it back up. We're not shown how she is religious. We don't see her how she interacts with her family. We're just told that the moment that we know the girls are missing, and just how the movie is just telling you how to feel, but it invests no time in just showing you. But about the time the girls are possessed, the movie's been like about a half an hour in, I think, and you don't really get to know them. We don't see the possession destroying their minds. We don't see them being haunted by it. I mean, we see so many times in the original how this thing isn't just tormenting Chris and the priest, it's tormenting Regan as well. I know there's so much missing potential in that. There's so much missing that we should have a good full 30 minutes. And like I said, I'm probably pushing it here just to spend time with the girls and their families. So we get to know this is who they are. So when the demon takes them both over, it is a very huge and drastic contrast. But no, it's just, oh, the demon's inside the now, so we're gonna boop, knocks her dad out. They held the thing in the church where the body and the blood, the body and the blood, which has been done, time again. And then we have the whole thing with bringing back Chris MacNeil, but it's the laziest piece of shit ever. Mostly because they paid this woman an absurd amount of money to give to a charity that she's really connected to, or plays a big part in, or believes in. That's the only reason she came back for this film. And you all know the scene. It's been done to death about inserting modern quote talking points, whatever you want to call it. We're not here to get political on this channel. But when you have Chris MacNeil talk about, oh, I wasn't allowed to watch my daughter's exorcism because I wasn't a part of the patriarchy. Hearing that made me want to flip a fucking lid. And the reason why is because one of my favorite shots or scenes, whatever, favorite moments in the original Exorcist was after the possession. After when Karras throws himself out the window so the demon can't hurt him or Regan, and Chris barges into the room. She sees Regan crying in the corner. She's not all greened up. She doesn't have the scars in her face anymore. But she doesn't go to her. She's hesitant. She's terrified because the last few months, this thing that looks like her daughter, that talks like her daughter, been hurting her and terrorizing her, trying to kill her. And then when she knows. For a split second, she knows that her baby is back. And she runs to Regan, she holds her, and they cry together on the bedroom. I don't know why. That part was just so good, so emotional. Got me teary-eyed, I'm gonna admit it. And then for this movie to say, she's like, I was allowed to watch because of the patriarchy. That's not what Chris would say. That's like, she would say, those two men, those brave priests, went to that room and they gave me my daughter back. They saved my little girl. And they died saving her. And that feels like the most disrespectful shit I can think of for this character and for the legacy of the original movie. It shows not only that you care more about asserting whatever thing you want to believe in into the film, it shows you have so much lack of fucking knowledge and respect for the source of material that you are making a continuation. That's why I hate this film. They didn't care. This film truly is soulless. It is more of a fucking product to me than the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that film was nothing but a trailer for 6 movies that never got made. This one really just upsets me because it had so much, like I said, the other movies had so much potential to be something really good. Most of the actors do a decent job. The cinematography, the set design, really liked it. Everything about this film was good, technical wise, but the fucking direction, the fucking script was shit. And this coming from someone who liked David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. I mean, yeah, the kills was kind of like had very little story. Part 3 ends wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I still enjoyed the film. I really do enjoy that trilogy for the most part. And it's just, see, this is what came out of that? Like, what the fuck? Telling me you hired a director who didn't give a shit without hiring me a director who didn't give a shit. That is The Exorcist believer. To me, the movie is soulless, it is garbage. Unless I'm gonna pirate it, I'm not gonna watch the next movie. I don't really rate movies here, but if I were to rate it, I'm gonna steal Double Toasted Spill's rating system and give this movie a fuck you, because no one cared about this movie, and I don't know, I'm pissed off. You can tell how much I don't like this movie. Alright, so that's our worst horror movies of the year. I was gonna do one big whole video, but now I see that I rambled on a lot, and so this probably should be his own thing. And also, my throat is killing me, so we're gonna call it now, and I'll see you all in the next video for my favorite best horror movies of the year. See you all later, next time. See cups. Beat 'em up, beat 'em up, beat 'em up. You're still here? You're actually still here at the end of the video? Oh, I'm surprised. Thank you for staying for the whole thing. If you have a few more seconds of your time, if I could, can you scroll down to that description and hit that little button that takes you over to my Twitch? I stream there almost every day. We play horror games, action games, and visual novels. So, if you don't mind, if you like what I do here, if you can stand my annoying voice here, follow me on Twitch and we can hang out some more. Alright, hope to see you over there. Have a good day.